The question is, will your studio ever be done? So I wanted to talk about this concept of being done for a couple reasons. Number one, because I am offender number one. I'm always changing stuff in the studio, right? There's a number of reasons for that. 5-6 years ago, I started posting videos to the internet. And when you post videos to the internet, you're like, what the hell am I gonna make a video about? Right now, I'm plugging this stuff in and I'm changing this. So I'll make a video about that. At a certain point, when you make a video about something you're changing, then it sort of becomes the thing that people correlate. Oh, this guy just changes his stuff all the time. I also like changing stuff because I like trying new things. And I do think that that is actually totally common when I started doing studio tours and meeting tons of studio owners and producers and artists who have different studios and becoming friends with them. They also are doing the exact same thing as me. Sometimes a lot more frequently than me. And they are making music and they are releasing stuff there, but they're constantly trying new stuff because they're in sort of a exploratory pursuit of new sounds and new inspiration or tools that like pull something out of them musically, and trying different stuff, whether it's a synth, whether it's guitar pedals, whether it's EQs or some tape delay machine that has 15 outputs or something ridiculous. Whatever it is, it pulls something out of them that allows them to be more creative and actually release something. If you just said, I'm done, I have everything I need, it's this piano, this acoustic guitar, these plugins and this gear, whatever, then likely most of the things that you're gonna make are ultimately gonna sound exactly the same. Now, the songwriting can be totally different, and hopefully that's where the focus always goes. I just know that a lot of people are influenced by the tools that they use and the sounds that those tools make. That's why a lot of people, artists, producers, composers, are constantly trying new stuff, trying new speakers, interfaces, new ways to get their workflow better. Like when I started doing consultations, there's a ton of other people exactly like me who get really irritated when there's these stupid things that you have to do in your workflow, or something that makes you have to stop the performance and go, oh, hold on, I need to change this routing or whatever. And that's very annoying to everyone on planet Earth. People like me who obsess over that workflow and trying to make things as expedient as possible are constantly trying stuff. And I make videos about it because I make videos. So it can for sure appear that way, and I totally understand that, but that is something that is very relatable, and a lot of people are very annoyed by stupid things that are avoidable. Could be headphone routing, it could be using hardware inserts, it could be software, it could be a million different things. Usually what we want to do is go in the studio and make music and use the stuff that we have as easily as possible. So with that being said, I'd love to ask, is your studio perfect? Is it done? Are you in a state where you aren't feeling the desire to change anything? If so, what are those things that you're changing? Is it for the purpose of inspiration? Is it for the purpose of workflow? What have you found that's been really, really useful? Share it down in the comments just so that other people can see it and so that I can see it as well. And if somebody shares something that they're having a problem with and you know the solution, go ahead and suggest something for them. Let's have like a nice discussion about this. One thing I will say about my studio, which I have had a billion changes over the last 6 years, moving has been the biggest crux of the changes for me personally. But here's where I've kind of landed that doesn't change. And it is sort of the structure of how the studio operates. And I mean that in like a system perspective. The interface, the inputs and outputs are set up in a way where I don't have to change anything with that. The software is kind of set and forget. The interface is set and forget. Headphones are always live. Got these little mixers, which has output playback from the DAW, and then it has all these inputs that are live. So we can, whoever's playing a live instrument, you've got a spot on this little mixer and you put the headphones on and you click your thing and you can hear your thing. That's always on. That's probably my favorite part, and I would say maybe one of the most important parts to have in a studio is a functional headphone system where a musician could read what it says and figure out, oh, if I push this button and turn the volume up where it says volume, I can hear that thing. Like if headphones are that simple and actually work, I think that's probably best case scenario. So that's like big part of my system that I'm never gonna change. Maybe a different headphone system if it sounded better or made something easier, but it works, it's easy, and it sounds fine. So that doesn't change. I have a ton of inputs, so I'm not planning on getting any more. I have more than a lot of commercial studios at this point. It's a 32 IO interface, and then I have an expanded 32 IO for all the hardware inserts, which are all immediately accessible in the DAW. So that doesn't change. Now, which things I'm using, that changes because I make videos and I try stuff, companies send stuff, and I get to try it out and see what I think and use it. And if I like it, it stays. If I don't, then it leaves. So that's something that changes here in my studio. But the structure, the system of the inputs and outputs, the hybrid setup, the headphones, even the monitoring, my monitor, controller, speakers, that doesn't change. I like my speakers. I like my monitor controller. It's analog, it's simple, it has a talkback button. The functionality of that system doesn't change. But the tools, processing EQs, compressors, things like that, I like trying out different tools. They have different sounds and tonal characteristics to them. Those change. The sources change. I would say that's probably the thing that took me the longest to learn that really made the biggest difference. I'm not alone in this pursuit. As I meet other artists and producers and stuff, you realize they have an infinite amount of instruments and drums and guitars and pedals and effects and things like that, because that's the thing you're recording.
Speaking of lots of stuff and getting maybe perhaps sometimes distracted with the stuff, we've got Black Friday coming up. I know this is like a time of year where everyone is just filling your inboxes with emails of buy the stuff and get the new thing that you've been waiting to get the plugins. Let's be honest, I'm gonna take advantage of some of this, right? Because it is just a great opportunity to get the things that are discounted this low at this time of year, right? While you're going through this, I just wanted to tell you we're reopening my Epic Drum Recording course. So this is another course, is a video course, and it's designed for people like you who probably already have some recording skills. You've been working on projects and maybe you have a home studio of some sort and you've been recording drum kits, but maybe not getting the results that you want and you're not exactly sure why. And there's all these YouTube videos with here's the secret, here's the trick, buy my sample pack, etc. And it's just not good advice. It's not helping in a meaningful way. A lot of the intention online goes to the mix, fix it in the mix. And I just got to tell you, this is the wrong way to go about it. Okay, this is why I made this course. I do consultations that people book with me and they ask me about all sorts of stuff, mostly about what we're talking about in this video, the studio, right? And how to make their studio better. But a lot of times it's, hey, I have this mix, can you listen to it? Can you give me your thoughts? And sometimes I see what people are doing and then I hear what's going on. I'm like, who told you to do this? Why are you doing this? And it's pretty rough out there. So I wanted to put out a product that can help you understand how to actually capture great epic drum recordings at the source. Okay, so we're reopening it for Black Friday. It opens as of today. There's going to be a Black Friday discount. I'm going to link it underneath this video. But it is a deep course. It's over 10 hours. We have some bonus lessons that are going to be added to the course on December 5th, which are going to have full sessions of very different types of drum recording sounds that you can go through. This is the thing that I wish that I had when I lived in Illinois, recorded out of my mom's house. And there was just all the things that I didn't know. And some of them were right there in front of me. It didn't even require getting a bunch of stuff from my studio. It just required me knowing what I was doing, which is the best thing you can get from a course, is the information, the knowledge, the principles, what you're not doing that you could be doing with what you have, right? So check that out if you're into recording drums. There's going to be a discount on that. So click the link, go get it while you can, save some money, don't spend too much money this holiday season. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff. Okay, now back to what I was saying.
So the source, whether that's a drum kit, you know, it's sometimes less expedient to just have one drum kit. Maybe you can have one drum kit and you make it sound a handful of different ways because you can tune it, you can change the heads, you can dampen things differently. But what that takes is time to make those changes. Sometimes it can be a shorter amount of time than others, but if you just had 5 different snares that were just set to be a certain sound, you just grab that snare and it just sounds that way, then yeah, you're gonna work a lot faster. Trying different sources, whether it's instruments, whether that's amps, whether it's cabinets or synthesizers, which are no longer here, which were here. In this case is guitars, acoustic guitars, basses. They all sound different. The pickups, the what's it called?
Tonewood.
The electronics, whatever it is, sound different. The amp heads, totally different sounds on input, which gets you there a lot faster. So I think those are the things that are sort of always evolving in my experience. Companies put out a new thing, you want to try the new thing, or maybe the old thing's better and you try and find the old thing, or whatever it is, if it's a pedal or 12-string guitar or something like that. Those are the things that I think are the most value for the change. If your system works for your studio, you know, your ability to record and mix and do that fast with as little friction as possible, then keep that the same, but then the other stuff is probably always going to change to some degree. So that's the stuff category. The next category is like the setup. How you set up your mics, your drum setup, your guitar amp setup, how you're capturing things. If your studio's done, hopefully what that means is you're able to do different setups quickly and easily without having to change a ton of things outside of, you know, you want to try different mics and you want to put them in a different spot. But in my case, I'm changing that stuff all the time. I live in this internal battle of like, I want it to always be set up and always be great and right, but like right changes depending on the song. So, you know, I find something that's comfortable and expedient and sounds good. You know, like maybe this song calls for something a little bit different. On the drum course we just did, there was a whole lesson about how the room influences the recording and how much it influences. And so we moved the drums from my drum room, which is a smaller bedroom size room, out into the living room. I'm in a house, so it's a living room. There's no treatment out there. It's a huge room. It's a weird shape. There's like pretty much no parallel anything. There's no equal amount of diffusion in any direction. And guess what? The drums sounded freaking amazing, and now I have my drums in the living room. And now, because I've tried something different, I've changed my studio again. But guess what? Now the sounds I'm getting are so vastly different than the sounds I was getting before, and I discovered something new. What I want to say here is like, will your studio ever be done? Sort of. Hopefully some part of the studio that allows you to actually do the work should be done. But then like the tools that you use, the means of how you capture those performances, the techniques you're trying, hopefully that's sort of always evolving. This is a job. We're doing this for work. You have to be good at it. You have to be fast at it, but like you want to like it. You want to hopefully be surprised. You know, if you're making records and the drums sound exactly the same on every record because you do exactly the same thing, after you do that for a couple years, you're kind of like, wow, I'm really bored. You know, so there has to be some level of experimentation with what you do just to satisfy your being bored with what you're doing or the work that you're doing. And sometimes literally just changing stuff gives you the perception of it being better because it's literally just different. That is very true in my case. Sometimes I'll use something, I'm like, this is the best sound in the entire world. It doesn't get any better than this. And then I use it for 2 months and I'm like, I'm so sick of this sound. And I'll replace very expensive, very nice overhead mics with extremely cheap polar opposite mics. And I'm like, this sounds way better. And truly what it is it just sounds different. And I'm happy that there's something different. Let me know what you think. Will your studio ever be done? What's something that you are battling, if it's structural or system, like it's just a pain in the butt to get right, to be able to actually make records and work fast? Or are the things that you're changing more tools and instruments and things that inspire performances? Or are you in the like, I'm constantly A/Bing headphone brands or things like that? I do tend to stay away from that sort of thing. Headphones to me are functional. I hate headphones in principle. There's like these that I use to track through, and then there's like what I use to listen to podcasts when I'm cooking. That's like the only headphones I care about. I don't like mixing on them, but maybe you do need to for your setup. Sometimes we get into this loop where we think, oh, I need to get this in order to be like a real studio, or I need to get this because this other person uses this. That's the crazy part of our brains that doesn't make any sense and is completely unnecessary. You can be really clever and you can rationalize it and say like, but maybe if I did have this, then I could use it for this purpose and this would make this go faster. Okay, I'm guilty of that. But I think it's important to remember we don't need to buy stuff just to have and buy stuff, right? You need your studio to work. Sometimes that, depending on what you're trying to do, right? If you're a songwriter and you're just doing demos to capture the song, you don't need much. If you're a producer, what you truly most need is a great vocal chain and some VSTs and stuff to program music. Just get that. Because of the home studio sort of skyrocketing growth nature of the last specifically 5 to 10 years, I think people just get stuff just because it's exciting and it's fun. Actually, I know for sure that's happened. My consulting business is a lot of dudes who literally just love getting stuff, and that's their happy place, is getting stuff and just playing around with stuff. And if that's what you want to do and that's the purpose of it, okay, that's great. But otherwise, if you're trying to do sessions and work and you just need what you need to be able to do that, I think you can do that in a very specific way without going deeply into debt to serve that need. Since we're talking about studio setup and gear, I'll shout one thing out. In 2021, I was doing a mix for a couple of songwriters, and it was one of those mixes where I was using my mouse, right? Because I just had to, it was in the box, it's all in Pro Tools. But at the time, it was killing me mixing and doing automation with my mouse. Automation to me is like one of the most important parts of mixing. I think the client I was working with was some portion inexperienced, some portion difficult, and also just didn't totally understand what mixing even was. So that made my job even more fun. And what happened was SSL came out with a product, and it was the SSL UF8 fader controller. And I saw this thing as just the answer to my problems. Like, man, if I could grab a fader and I could mix with a fader and use my ears instead of my eyes, and I'm watching all my automation moves with my mouse, I think that would make this go faster. Long story short, I got the UF8. Now I use the UF8 and the UF1 fader controllers. These are the two things that have been in front of me since 2021. There's few things that have not changed over the last 5 years. These are them. Are they the most perfect fader controllers? I don't know, but they work and do exactly what I need when I'm mixing. So that, like, in that conversation of what things stay and what things change and experiment, you know, I think you could try a bunch of different automation fader controllers, but these for me have stayed the same. So I'll just shout out to that. I'll put a link to that if you want to check those out and you haven't used a fader controller when mixing. It can just save so much time. You trust your ears, don't trust your eyes. You're never going to listen to a record with your eyes. So yeah, that's my piece. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.